Okay, so today we're going to be talking about dividing decimals by a decimal. So if you've made it here, chances are you have questions on what to do with you have a decimal in the divisor. No fret, I got you. So let's go over a few things that you need to know first. Things to know. First, you need to be able to determine what is my quotient, divisor, and dividend. More importantly, which one is the divisor and which one is the dividend. And we'll talk about quotient later. Of course, being able to either do long division or box method division is important. And if you know your facts, that will be helpful as well. We've already did this as practice on another video, but let's go through and practice again to ensure that, again, you can identify which one is your dividend and which one is your divisor. As a quick retouch, we need to know that dividend is the number that's being divided. And the divisor is the number of groups or the number that's doing the dividing. Now, let's go ahead and quickly identify these following sets of numbers. Let's look at our next one together. 34 and 5/10. Would that be my dividend or would that be my divisor? That would be my dividend. Usually when we divide fractions, we say top in, which means inside the house, and bottom out, which means outside the house. Hopefully you were able to identify all those dividends and all those divisors. Now, let's go ahead and look at a few practice. Oh, don't forget that a quotient is the number or the answer to a division problem. Let's look at our steps and look at this practice example question that we already have, and then we'll look at some together. Our steps. First, set up the problem. Most of the problems may not be set up. So we have to either look at the word problem to determine which one is our divisor and which one is our dividend. Once we do that, we have to make the divisor, which again is the number on the outside. Let me show you real quick. Here we go. So the number on the outside would be my divisor. The number on the inside would be my dividend. We have to make this into a whole number. So if you notice, we did one swoop to make it into 12. So now my divisor is 12. Since I did one swoop on the outside, I have to do one swoop on the inside. So now my new number is 38 and 4/10. Once I have it set up, the same thing that we did on a previous video, we just bring up our decimals and we divide like normal. We know that 12 goes into 38 3 times. 3 times 12, that gives me 36. Bring down my 2. And so now I have 24. 12 goes into 24 2 times. 24, take away 24, I have 0. Let's see if we can practice some together. And then again, I'm going to leave you some to practice independently by yourself. Let's go ahead. Let's move on. Step 1, set up my problem. Again, this would be my dividend. This would be my divisor. Dividend, divisor. Okay, so before we go ahead and get started, step 2, make the divisor a whole number. So I do this by moving it over 2 times. 1, 2. When I move it over 2 times on my divisor, I also have to move it over 2 times on my dividend. 1, 2. So now to make it pretty, I'm going to rewrite it to make sure I make sense with my numbers. So now my new number is 5, and then my new number is 68.5. Just like we did on the other ones, we bring up my decimal and we start dividing just like regular. It goes in there 1 time. That's 5. 8 times. How many times can 5 go into 18? 3 times. 15, 3, bring down my 5. How many times can 5 go into 35? 7 times. And there goes my answer. When we have 0 at the end, that lets me know I'm finished with this problem. Let's go ahead and let's try another one. Again, first we have to set up my problem. Of course, my dividend, my divisor. Now let's set up my problem. 12. Move it over to make it into a whole number. So now my whole number is 8. Whenever I have a whole number as my dividend, my decimal is going to be at the end. I know it's invisible, but because it is a whole number, it's going to be at the end. So since I moved that one time, same thing I did, I'm going to move that one time. So you're asking, what do I do with this hole I have? Now I'm going to just fill it in with a placeholder. Now let's rewrite my number. 120 divided by 8. I'm going to keep my decimal just in case I need to bring it up. But let's see. So 8 goes into 12 one time. That's 8. 8 goes into 40 5 times. And so we can actually stop right there. And so my answer is 15. Let's keep it moving. Now let's look at some word problems, because I know we've been working with word problems and we need to be able to identify keywords and key items to let me know what I'm going to be doing. So we're going to be practicing cubes. We're going to be circling, we're going to be underlining, and we're going to be boxing in important information that we need to know. Ms. Mack bought 1.5 pounds of ground beef from Kroger's. She paid a total of $6.75 for the ground beef. What is the price per pound? So first of all, I'm going to box in my important numbers. Let's do that first. So of course, I need to know, box in 1.5 and $6.75. Now I'm going to go through and just circle some keywords that might help me determine what my operation is. One of the things that point out, of course, is total, but also, and most importantly, is per. Okay? In this case, per means the amount for one. We just want to know how much I paid for 1 pound. Not 1.5, just 1 pound of ground beef. Okay? So now that we kind of figured that out, let's go ahead and let's underline my question, which we've already kind of discussed and talked about. What was the price per 1 pound of meat? My dividend goes in the inside. My divisor goes on the outside. We have a problem. We have a decimal on the outside on my divisor. We simply move it over 2 times, one time, And since I moved it 1 time on the outside, I have to move it 1 time on the inside. So now my new number is 1567.5. Next, just bring up my decimal and let's get to dividing. 5 or 15 goes into 67 4 times. That's 60. 7 take away 0, I get 7, and I bring down my 5. And 15 goes into 75 5 times. Let's try one more word problem before you practice your independent practice. Okay. Jason spent $20 for school lunches. If each lunch cost $2.50, how many school lunches did he buy? Again, the same thing that we did on the last word problem. Let's go through boxing in our important information or important numbers. $20, $2.50. We want to know how much each, that's my key word, each lunch will cost. And again, in this case, one. We want to know how much one lunch or each of those lunches will cost. Next, let's underline my questions. How many lunches did he buy? This will be my dividend. This will be my divisor. We already see what the issue is. I have a decimal on the outside. So I'm going to just move it over 2 times. 1, 2. Whenever I have a whole number, my decimal is going to be at the end, and I'm going to move it over 2 times. 1, 2. In those spots, just simply put a placeholder. Now I have a new set of numbers. I'm going to cancel those zeros out to make it a little bit easier for myself. And then, how many times can 25 go into $2? Or if you have a quarter, how many quarters make up $2? In this case, 8. So Jason bought 8 lunches. I want you to pause the next screen so you can practice independently on these questions. Let me know how you do.